are on our list already, but this helps also show how many people are actually coming. So nobody wants coffee? I think it's ready.
So welcome to our live stream class. It's really exciting to be able to welcome people that are watching us online, maybe from the comfort of their homes or work or computers. And then to have you here today, I really encourage you to keep coming to these classes. Sometimes coming with a friend also helps, and we encourage you to do that. So thank you so much for being here. I'm Marta. I'm the Director of Government and Community Affairs for Southern Caregiver Resource Center, and I know I've met some of you before. And today we're going to talk about holding a family meeting. And I think that this is a topic that is very much on people's minds all the time, especially caregivers, because I feel that there is this idea that if you just have a challenging situation as a caregiver, then you can just go to your family, and your family's going to be there and no problem, right? Right? You're laughing when you say right. Is that always the case? No? So let's get started, because that's the idea today, that I want to see how we can help each other, guide each other through this topic of holding a family meeting. And so what I want to talk about today is talk about some of the roles that caregivers have, understand some of that caregiver-related stress. I always want to make sure we point out that it's okay to feel stressed. It's good to identify so that then we can do something about it. Okay? Asking for help, which brings me to the topic of holding a family meeting. Right? Does that sound good? Okay. So before we move on, I want to ask, how many of you are family caregivers? Caring for somebody else? Okay, so all of you. Caring for somebody else and worrying about their well-being, and what do you do in certain situations, right? So this is great, because now that we know that that's what you are, then you can seek the assistance that is out there and available for you. And we'll talk about that at the end, okay? So this is good. You're in good company, okay? Feel free to ask questions. All right. So these are, this is a list that I put together of some of the roles. Can anybody read them for me? You want to read them for me? Yeah?
Care manager, activities director, driver, cook, housekeeper, pharmacy tech, financial advisor, and administrator.
What else am I missing?
Companion,
Companion,
psychiatrist,
psychiatrist, therapist. I mean, a lot of these things that they're not even here. And so if you think about it, right, each of these, I can't point. Each of these could be a full-time job. How many of you do a lot of these? More than 2 of these? More than 4 of these? All of these? Right? Even the ones that are not here. You do everything, right? And you get paid for each of those activities? No. So you are, in essence, holding down many, many jobs, right? And does that cause stress? Yes? So what we are going to do is we're going to try to figure out, how do we kind of delegate some of these activities? How do we prioritize some of these activities? How to seek help, because we cannot do it all. Even though you do it all, but you're walking around with stress, and that's not healthy. Okay? So, is this how you are when you're stressed? Yes? If I ask you on a scale from 1 to 10, how stressed are you right now?
Oh my God, 10, I
10?
guess. It's not just the caregiver part. I have my own problems, my own issues. I'm overwhelmed with another stuff.
Yeah.
I'm married, I have this, and it's like,
You're human?
Yes.
Okay. So that in itself, right, carries a lot of stress.
The caregiver part is just one part of my
Of your different categories. So 10. Anybody else close to a 10?
Not this week, but
That's good. How about right now? How are you feeling right now?
about a 6 or a 7 right now.
6 or a 7?
Because it's always there.
Ah,
There's never a time when it's not there.
okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'm not causing you more stress. But it's always there, right? And it's almost like we can't really get rid of stress, but it's how we manage it, right? And that's why I put this picture, because, I mean, sometimes we get to this point, right? Think of the time that you were most stressed. you were probably like, ah, right? Just, I can't take it. So we don't want to walk around like this, right? Because we have so many people that are dependent on us, right? You talked about work. You talked about being a spouse, your family. You know, we have so many things that, so many people, so many, yourself, forget that, right? That's the last thing on the plate. Yeah, so we don't want to walk around like this. So I just want to give you that image. And that's okay. It's okay to feel stressed, but it's also understanding what that stress. So here I put a balance, right? And on one side is the isolation. Does that happen sometimes? You feel isolated, nobody else understands what you're going through. Burnout, right? Because of all those roles and responsibilities that we talked about, right? The roles that we talked about earlier. Depression, sadness, because you can't do anything to make it better. Anxiety, right? Oh no, we have to go to a party. What's it going to be like? Anybody caring for someone with dementia, memory loss? No? Okay. Because sometimes people that have some sort of cognitive decline, it's really difficult for them to understand what's happening, and so then the caregiver has to kind of fill in. So that is maybe, what else am I missing here? What other kind of stressors? Financial. What's that? Financial strain, yeah. Right? And so on the other side, we have everything that we know we should be doing, right? Which is what? Being healthy, sleeping, eating well. What else? Exercise, emotional well-being, right? And do we do that on a regular basis? No? It's okay.
Not if you have all the other things on the other side.
Right? So we really have to balance that. We really have to balance that, because think about this. And I know I've said it before in my classes or in other our live stream classes or tip videos that we have online, is that if we don't have that balance, then when something challenging comes our way, how are we going to react to it? Right? If you're already stressed and you're like this frustrated because of all the things that you have been mentioning, and you're a little off balance, right? And then you get in the car and there's a lot of traffic and somebody cuts you off. How are you going to react to that? Ah, right? But if you're coming from a place where you're a little bit more balanced and you're relaxed, or at least aware of the stress, but maybe have kind of slowed down that anxiety, then if you get in a situation where there's traffic, maybe you don't react to it as negatively. So that's the idea, to keep that balance, okay? And we're going to do that by helping you figure out how to ask for help, okay? How do you ask for help? Let me ask you. How do you ask for help right now, currently? Do you ask for help?
Yes, I ask for help.
Okay.
It's my daughter,
Which I think I've met. Uh-huh.
she's the one that backs me up all the time.
Okay. And she's willing,
Yeah,
if she can.
because she's dealing right now with her grandmother in Tijuana
Mm-hmm.
and my mom. So sometimes my mom she
So
doesn't choose.
two grandmothers.
Yes, and the second grandma she's with dementia, like,
Ah.
and right now my mom lives in Chula Vista. The other grandmother lives in Tijuana, so sometimes she's doing like point A and then point B. And it's
So she has a lot of those caregiving responsibilities on her. So then what do you think would happen if you asked her for help and she says yes, but she's already overburdened?
sometimes for me it's a very little thing.
Okay.
Can you take the meal to your grandma on your way to TJ?
Okay.
I know that it's going to be like, oh, but she saves me
She saves.
a trip from Tierra Santa to Chula Vista just to grab a
Yeah.
meal because my mom, she's like, oh, I don't have any milk
Yes.
and it's not, and, oh, it's like,
Yeah. So she needs you.
yes,
And you have each other.
yes.
Can your daughter ask you for help when she needs help? Okay, good. That's good to know. Anybody else? Anybody else reach out for help?
This is my daughter.
Oh, great. Welcome.
So she helps me, I help her. We're kind of, everybody else in the family is kind of busy with their jobs or whatever, or lives too far away. And even though my mother's in an assisted living
Mhm.
place, she still is very dependent on us. She is slowly, memory loss is
Oh, memory
really
loss.
creeping in.
Yeah.
And her physical being is not what it used to be, so
So you depend on each other.
she depends on us and we depend on each other.
That's great. That's great. That's wonderful. Very similar.
But even if they are already in a assisted living facility, I have to take them.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
that's what I tell caregivers is just because the person has been placed in an assisted living facility or a retirement community, etc., it doesn't mean that you stop being the caregiver. It's just maybe your responsibilities change a little and you modify, but you're still concerned about them. You're still visiting, maybe taking them.
Or because there's, like, for, I think with my grandma, like, because her situation has changed, she's even more sort of emotionally dependent on mom especially. It's like, okay, she's in this situation where there are 3 meals a day and they do the laundry and stuff, but she knows she's losing her memory. And all those people are just
Yeah.
new strangers. Mom's the one that gets
The
like,
common.
even more of the emotional.
Yes. So, and that could also be even more challenging because it's easier to say, hey, can you get me this physical thing? Whereas emotionally, it might not be as easy to help you figure things out or to be listened to, right? Anybody else? You have a person that you depend on?
My mom, I take care of my mom, and her boyfriend, and my brother also.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes they're busy too, so.
Yeah, everybody's busy, right? Everybody has things going on. And you have someone that you can think of?
My sister has MS, and it's kind of going downhill. She lives with my dad, who's in his 80s, so it's like they both need caregivers.
Yes. So you are it.
Yeah, I mean, he primarily takes care of her because they live together, but he's sick of it all.
Yeah,
I think he's so tired from
absolutely.
taking care of her, so I try to see her like twice a week. And
Yeah. So obviously you're all caregivers, different situations, and maybe the people at home can figure out who their support network is and kind of start cultivating that as we move along
they
today.
don't have to ask for help.
No,
They
no,
don't.
no. Yeah, it's hard. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about asking for help as it relates to us. Okay? Because in asking for help for us, we're able to better help that person or those people in your situation, right? So it's important to involve family and friends because they probably know your situation best and they can understand you. But I really want to expand on that idea because it doesn't necessarily have to be just family and friends, right? It can be colleagues. Maybe there's somebody at work who is having the same situation as you are or similar or has gone through something like that. Maybe at a church group, at a social club that you belong to. That can also be part of who you can ask for help, okay? It's important to share your concerns with others. And this is why this is so great because the idea is, yes, that you come to these classes and maybe pick up something that can be useful, but also that you make contact with other people, with staff, with us, with each other, so that maybe you can find other ways that would be helpful. Delegating. Easier said than done, right? Why do you think that is? So if I ask, and I'm going to completely change your name, but I'm going to ask Susie here to help me because I'm learning to delegate. Martha said that it's important to delegate, so I'm going to delegate. Susie, can you help me? I need you to drive this meal to your grandma because it's on your way. I'm delegating. I can't do it. But what if Susie says, you know what, I can't today. I have a late work meeting, or I have an event, or I'm sick, or I'm tired, or I just don't feel like it, right? So now what? Right, we all said it, we're all busy. So now I'm going to get offended and upset because she doesn't want to help me? What would be the response, you think? Is being aware that maybe we need to expand that network of care. The plan B, C, D, E, F, right? So it's not always just Susie or Dad, but it could be other people that we can ask. And then be honest with your limitations, right? If Susie is tired of driving to Tijuana each and every time because you got to cross the border and make the line, then, you know, she should be okay with saying, I don't want to do that this week. It's a lot of work. Okay? But when that happens, we need to be okay with it. And I think I've done an exercise in the past, if you haven't seen it, where I want you to write down, okay, an activity that you would like to have someone do for you. Delegate. So write it down right now, and hopefully people at home can do the same thing. So something that you need help with, that if I tell you right now, hey, I'll help you with whatever you want, that you are able to delegate so that you don't have to do it. Okay? And it could be, like I gave you the example of driving something somewhere. Okay? And this is going to be kind of like your model that you're going to start developing. Okay? Your formula. For every activity that we talked about earlier that you all do, and then some, maybe there's a way that we can find somebody that we can delegate certain things to. So that if you're talking about financial being a stressor, okay, what in those financial stressors do you need help with? Being specific. And who can help? Maybe, you know, Mary here has a financial background. She's an accountant. So maybe she can step in and help to deal with all of that. And that way you don't have to think about it. I mean, just to give you a very general example. Okay? All right. So next to those activities, write down the name of a person that you can delegate that activity to. Okay? So again, if your issue is financial and you're going to ask Mary because she's an accountant, that's who you put the name of, you know, Mary next to that activity, and write down their phone number or email. And make it a point to go talk to that person. Say, hey, Mary, you've mentioned in the past, you can help me. I really need your help. I thought I could do it, but I really don't even want to think about doing my taxes, right? And putting all the paperwork together. Can you just do it for me? I'll buy you lunch. Because she's your friend and she's offered to help. So that's great if she says yes, right? Because now you have that list. Finances, Mary. That's who you go to. That's your plan B. But if Mary is not available, that's your plan A. But if Mary's not available, then you need a plan B. Who is that other person that can help you with that? And maybe right now you can kind of brainstorm, right? Write down the name and their phone number. Now, that's best case scenario, because you have great friends and they're willing to help you. But what if I ask Mary and she says no? She was just trying to be nice the first time she told me that, right? She just said, hey, whatever you need help with, I'll help you. And then I asked her and she says, no, not really. What should I do? Get upset? Tell her, you promised. What do you think?
Can't get upset because it's just more stress on you.
Uh-huh.
I guess have another plan to go directly to.
Right? That's right. And now you know you can't go to Mary to ask for help. But you can go to Susie, or you can go to Liz, right? You can go to different people.
Or you can't go to Mary that week.
Or you can't go to Mary that week. Or you can't go to Mary during tax season because that's when she's most swamped. I mean, so you're getting it. You're getting what you would do. So that's your homework, to go down that list that we talked about initially and figure out, what can I delegate? Who can I ask help from? All right. So we're gonna take a little walk. Oh, we should. I would love to take an actual physical walk around here. It's such a beautiful day. We could do that. Maybe we could do that at another point. But I'm going to ask because I have kind of like a little outline that can help you, and we're gonna do it together on the screen so that our friends online can follow along. But you have the written version. And what I want to do is I want to go over how to hold a family meeting. Because we already set it up where we talked about, do you have enough copies? Yeah, oh, just perfect, okay. Great. Oh, if I can repeat the questions. Yeah, so I think some of the questions were initially asking people for help. That I was initially saying do each of you have someone that you can count on to help you as you're delegating some of these responsibilities? And if you have someone in mind, then talk to that person to see if they would be willing to help you with that. Okay? All right. All right. So step 1 is we are going to talk about, is it working? Here we go. Holding a family meeting. Step 1. Ready? So we need to clarify the necessity of the conversation. What do I mean by that? Okay. So our issue here, and just to throw out an example, is Dad shouldn't be driving anymore. He gets lost. And we're really concerned. So, is it necessary to have a conversation? Yeah, probably, right? Dad was wearing purple socks. I'm really concerned about that. Doesn't matter. You should see the way my daughter dresses before she goes to school, right? So, really, just really figuring out, is it that important? So, having that conversation about Dad not driving because he's getting lost is probably a good indicator that we should have that conversation. And in the first step is it the right time right now, the right place to hold this conversation? Okay? So, what do I mean by that? Dad is getting lost. He's driving. It's now somebody's birthday party. Great, we're all going to be together. Let's talk about that. Thanksgiving. Let's do it during Thanksgiving. Is that a good time to talk about that? No, why not? It's probably going to be very emotional, right? People are going to be really upset. The care receiver might recognize that, wait, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to take away my license? So emotions are really high. So at a special gathering, it's probably not the right time to talk about these things. So then what do we do there? Now, right now, we have internet, we have our smartphones, we have email, we have Facebook. I mean, we have all of these connection, ports that we can utilize to our advantage, right?
That birthday party, probably I can see my relatives, my siblings, and say, you know what, we need to discuss this because
Yes.
observe this and this and this, so
Let's have a follow-up.
Let's have a lunch on Saturday.
Yes, after the party. Yes, absolutely. So you can connect with people and say, okay, we need to set up a meeting. Right? I need to talk to you about something that's really concerning to me and that I've observed or that I noticed. Or even, frankly, I can't handle this anymore. Right? I'm really stressed. So I need to talk to you about how I'm feeling. Okay? So that is what I mean about clarifying and finding the right time and place. Any questions regarding that? No? Okay. Step 2. Who should be in this conversation? So I want you to think about your personal situations that you already mentioned to me, okay? And you're here for a reason. So what is it that you would like to talk to your family members about that is concerning you? Okay? So for example, if we're continuing with this, scenario of dad not being able to drive, and I'm bringing in my whole family, my siblings, what are the dynamics of those relationships? Right? Do we all get along? Does somebody have really strong personality? Is somebody going to be very laid back and hands off? Right? You know them well. You know the people that you are going to hold this family meeting with. So what would that do? Right? So being aware of that is helpful, because these are the people, this is a group that's going to either help you make that decision, or together collectively you're going to make these decisions. Okay? Should the care receiver be present?
No. I said sometimes it's not.
You say no?
No. I have the same situation. Recently, we sold my dad's van that
Mm.
was abandoned, and my mom said, "Oh, it's your dad's."
Mm,
But it's okay. Needs to get
needs to go.
clean it, and I contact I have a group with my siblings,
Mhm.
my 3 brothers, and
Mhm.
myself, just the 4 of us. We need to sell this van. Where are the papers? Because we don't know where are the papers. And then, one of my brothers said, "Okay, I have them." They're okay, so we need to have a meeting.
Yeah, good.
Not my mom, because my mom, she wants to take that van forever.
Forever.
So we already have a person that is interested in the van. Okay, I have a guy that he wants to give us like $750. We make the plan and we discuss with my mom. We just notify her.
You notify
Because
her.
she cannot drive. The van is like 3 years not using.
So it's no
She's
point
paying AAA.
to maintain it. Insurance.
Like, really, Mom?
And that's a good point, right? It really depends. She's saying no. She would not include the care receiver, in this case her mother, in this decision. But you have your situations, and is this something that would, ultimately you know the person best, you know the situation best. Is it worth it to involve that person? How far advanced are they in the dementia process? Is it going to be helpful, or is it not even going to matter? Right? So if you're all coming together, what is the common purpose of all of you coming together? You talk about your siblings getting together and you email them. Probably because you all care. And so they might not necessarily see eye to eye initially, but they all care. So they are vested and they are involved in the process, right? So maybe with your situation, you bring maybe your sister and your dad. Hey, Dad, I have something that's concerning to me. You are aging, and I am concerned about your health, but I know my sister needs help too. So let's talk about how we can help each other. Or how can I best help you since I can't do it all? What else can we need to do? Okay. And then I have here, I put some bullets in the outline, because worst case scenario, right? Nobody agrees. Best case scenario, everybody is, yay, let's, all do this together and hold hands and skip and jump. But probably for the most part, people are going to fall in the middle, right? People are going to fall in the middle because everybody has their opinions. Everybody has their perspective. Everybody wants to try different things. And that's okay, because that allows you to maybe get the perspective of the other person, see what other resources she has. Maybe you hadn't thought about the other, she has some contacts in the community. Maybe she can tap into those. She knows her, so maybe she can help with the financial situation, right? Okay. Any questions here? No? All right. Step 3. Have an outline of what you want to discuss. I gave you an outline, right? I actually gave you already part of that exercise. And having an outline, not that you're going to sit and you're going to say, okay, this meeting's coming to order at this time, presiding before you, right? It's just that, not that you're trying to make it formal, but think about what you're going to be discussing. taking somebody's license away. Coming together with different personalities. There are going to be a lot of emotions. There's going to be a lot of opinions. There's going to be maybe a lot of dissent. So then if we only get to step number 3, but there's all these other things that you wanted to talk about and you forget because, it just kind of derailed, it's a good time to say, okay, you know what? Let's just leave it here for now. Let's set up another meeting when we all can be here, and let's think about what we discussed today and just continue the conversation. And you can add to the outline or you can delete if you already answered some of those things. But it gives you kind of like a guide on how to hold this very uncomfortable meeting, really, for a lot of people. Okay? So that's why I want to say include an outline. Step number 4. Really identify and sort out the conversation. Again, if it starts with, and I think we all do this, right? We start talking about an issue, and then we bring up things from the past, right? You're laughing, but you agree with me, right? So you start talking about this, and then, well, you were the favorite, and Dad never listened to me, and it has nothing to do with, bathing. But all of a sudden, you get into all these other side conversations. So then we need to keep track of those. And we really need to figure out, okay, what is the purpose? Right now, we're not talking about our childhood, but maybe we should make up a separate meeting and talk about childhood issues, right? For now, let's talk about the keys. And that way you can come back and not get distracted. But what is the story? What is the real story? What is happening here? What is it that we want to accomplish at the end of this meeting? Okay? Now, I talk about emotions, right? I talk about stress, and I showed you that picture. Emotions are going to be very much a part of this conversation. We're human. We're emotional beings. We need to identify and share. I'm really scared. Dad is driving, and he keeps forgetting. I'm really scared he's going to get lost, or he's going to hit someone, or he's going to cause an accident. That is my primal fear. That's why I want to talk to you. I need you to understand that. Because other people might say, well, you just want to take away his license and his independence. But once they hear where you're coming from, then that might be a different way of listening to what you have to say. Okay? And also consider them for each person, right? You have those strong feelings, but I don't know, maybe she has different feelings that I hadn't even considered because they haven't affected me. Or everybody has different emotions as well. And then what does that mean, right? If you are saying that we're going to lean on Mary because she's an accountant and she can help you with your financial situation, and this is something that she doesn't feel comfortable with, that's the time for her to say, you know what? Can I help you with something else? I just really don't want to do that for you. I don't want to get involved in your finances. And that's okay. I mean, she can talk about that at that point, right? Any questions here? Any questions? Online? No, okay. Step 5. Explore both sides. And that can be both sides, the care receiver, so the person you're caring for, and the caregiver, which is all of us here, right? Being both sides, as well as the other people, right? If you have family, siblings, they're all probably caregivers to a different extent, right? Maybe some more involved than others, but like in this case, you're both caregivers, but your roles are different, right? One's a spouse, one's a daughter. So what are your sides? And it's important to reframe the conversation if it started getting heated, right? You never liked Dad because he was always really hard on you. That's why you want to take away the license. That's probably not going to get us anywhere. Or you were always Mom's favorite. That's why she does what you tell her. So you should just do it all, right? So exploring different sides. Does that make sense? Okay. And then step 6, problem solving. Easier said than done. But you're all very smart. You wouldn't be here if you hadn't originally figured out that something needed to be done, right? How many of you growing up said, when I had to take care of my adult siblings, my parents, my spouses? How many of you said that?
I don't think you think about it until it's actually there. That's what I've been telling everyone that I
You
know.
don't want to
Hey,
think about it.
think about it
No.
now, before
Yeah.
they have a stroke or, can't live alone. Plant that little seed in your head, because what happened with us was my mother had a stroke and couldn't live on her own. So then all of a sudden it was up to her and I to kind of take care of it, even though I have other children. They're busy with their thing,
No.
and it kind of fell to us, and we were, where do we go? What do we do?
Yeah, absolutely. None of us, and I think for the most part, all of us who have been caregivers or who are caregivers step up to the plate because we figured something needs to happen, something needs to be done, but we have no idea, right? We're doing it for the first time. Even if you have a background in nursing and being a doctor or physician, I mean, I've come across a lot of these people. It's different when it's your family, the people that you are, related to. So it is important to figure out how we can solve these problems, right? So the idea is, hold on a second, is that after you go through this outline, you get to the bottom, which is, okay, what are we going to do about the problem? And that's why I kept giving you that example of the driving. How are we going to fix that problem? Yes.
Yes, but sometimes the patient, they don't even realize, because I tried to speak with my mom regarding living trust, living will, who's going to take care of you if something happens.
Yeah.
If we need to just connect you straight, like, oh, don't think about that.
Yeah.
No, we don't need that. Like, no, we need that.
And that's why I'm glad, again, that all of you are here, because you're in the experience that you have of caring for somebody else. Hopefully you're thinking about yourself and thinking about, what about my needs when I get to a point that somebody needs to take care of me? Yes.
I don't have kids or grandkids.
Right. So now you have to think about that. And even if you did, and even if you did have children,
Don't know if they're gonna help.
exactly, there is no guarantee. I mean, there's a joke that some of us go around saying, wow, we should have, a dozen kids, and maybe, out of a dozen, maybe 3 will be involved. I mean, you never know. You never know.
I found that when I was doing paperwork for my mother, a will, I did mine at the same time. The living trust, I did mine at the same time.
That's
What
smart.
do you want, to be saved or not if you start to check out? So all of that paperwork, while I was doing it for my mother, I also did it for myself and gave copies to my kids.
That's awesome. That's great.
Because I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
So I really thought, oh man, okay, this could happen to me, what happened to my mother.
Absolutely, yes. Is there a question online? Oh, to repeat the question. Yes, so she said that as she was helping her mom develop her will and her power of attorney and her decisions for end of life, she did it herself because then she took care of it for herself as well as for her mom at the same time. And that's really smart to be able to do that. Yes.
I was gonna say part of the reason I'm here actually is because I've never done it, but I can be in a car accident. It's not just for older people, and part of what I want to do is start having these conversations with the wider family a little bit.
Yes.
And it's not just when you're 80 or 90, it could be any time, like what is important to you.
And we don't think about that. And we actually have a whole class that I think it's been a while that we've done. We talk about the documents, the healthcare documents that we should probably all have, not just the person that we're caring for. But that is smart that you are involved with your mother, because then now you will be set with your wishes and you can figure out the details later on in terms of who you want to designate as your agent.
Oh, and she's done it now, so she knows the process, which I don't know the process.
Yeah.
Well, I came to the class here.
Oh, good. So our class was helpful. I'm glad to hear that.
I did, I came to the class and as soon as I
Oh,
was out
good.
there, I was like, okay, we need to take care of this and this and this. And when I was
So glad to hear.
I mean, you do it for me.
So glad to hear that. Thank you. Yes.
I had a question, Max. So I was at a point of burning out, and I asked my family to have a meeting, and some people were ready to meet and some were not. And then I didn't know whether to just meet with the people who wanted to meet, or, what do you do in this situation?
Absolutely. So this is a good place to start.
Okay,
And it really is determined by you.
okay.
Who is it that you want to have? And it starts with the first question. Who is it that should be there with this conversation that you're about to have? It's up to you. And even if people say, well, I need to be there, determine, well, what can they bring to the conversation? Is it going to be helpful? If people don't want to be in the conversation, then now you know not to include them, and you make decisions without necessarily their input, but you might just want to say, so I'm just letting you know, this is what we did, or this is how I want the decisions made. Yeah, so it's really, it's how you want to handle it for yourself. It doesn't, that's why I say it doesn't necessarily mean, and I think sometimes as caregivers we get stuck with, well, it's got to be my whole family, right? Even the title, holding a family meeting, right? Family doesn't have to be your blood relative. It could be a friend. I gave a talk one time, and I had somebody in the audience, kind of the same similar situation, and she was an only child, and she said, well, forget it, I can't do anything. I mean, it's just me. And I said, and we kind of in the conversation came to realize that she had a really good friend who she grew up with and lives nearby, and they do a lot of things and ends up helping her sometimes with mom. And so it's like, well, have you considered that person being your agent since you've known each other for so long and she knows your situation? It doesn't have to be a blood relative, and it doesn't have to be the whole family. Okay? Yes?
Something that was nice on here, and I've kind of been thinking about, but a good reminder is that it might take multiple meetings. It's not like you're gonna go in one time and solve everything.
No.
You start.
You start the conversation. Absolutely. Yes. And this is the first step, right? I mean, you are gathering that knowledge. You're starting to think about it. I gave you some homework assignments, right? You're going to go home and think about it. But now with this outline, figure out, okay, how many times do we need to sit down and talk about this until you are satisfied with the results? And that's why it might take several meetings. Maybe some other people kind of fall out, or maybe you get more people involved, right? Or maybe your vision of what you wanted changes. It just depends. So yes, absolutely. And really think outside the box, because not every decision is going to be the same. And even for your mom, it might be different for you or for you, because you have different situations, right? And even if you both had the same scenario, you're different people and you have different things to deal with. So every situation is going to be different. And remember, whatever decision you come up with, it might work for this year, but maybe it doesn't work next year, and you have to sit down again, right? Or let's say you're caring for someone who has their disease is progressing and changing. So what you decided this year is going to change next year. So maybe you just need to say, okay, let's meet again. I've noticed that things are becoming a little bit more challenging for you. What do we do now? You don't have to have all the answers, but you should have that open communication to be able to figure out what is it that you need. And again, your family can also be professionals. We are here for you because we know what you're going through, so we can help you. And we can put you in contact with different financial assistance, legal assistance, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. But it doesn't just have to be your family. Any other questions? All right. So I am going to talk about the services, because I really want you to know what we do for you, okay? And if you can, can I ask my colleagues here to give you a brochure, and this one details the different services that we have here. and I will go over them so that you have a better understanding. Now, are you all connected to us somehow? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so you know that we focus 100% on the family caregiver. That's all of you who are here. You are who we focus on, okay? And it's so wonderful to be able to do that. We've been doing it for 30 years because we understand that behind every person with maybe some chronic condition, there is a caregiver. And sometimes the caregiver bears a bigger burden that nobody even talks about, right? Because we're so focused on the person with a disease. So you know that as you can call us, right? The number's in the bag. You can go to our website at crc.care. And we will connect you to a care manager who's going to walk with you through this caregiving journey. So at any point you can say, I need more help. I don't need some help. I don't need that much help right now. I'm done. I want to bring in my daughter. It just depends, right? So by working with the care manager, you and that person are going to determine your care plan to help you. What is it that you need? Okay, given your situation. If you want to know more information about MS, for example, we have a library upstairs. We have books, videos. We have fact sheets. You could also find them online, but we could also connect you with those organizations that are very disease specific as well. We have short-term counseling. And have I mentioned how much we charge for our services? It's free.
Yeah.
You meet with a therapist, a licensed clinical social worker, or a master's level clinician. But for counseling, I mean, this is counseling, right? You can talk about all of your caregiving related concerns.
For not $170.
For not $170, yes, exactly, for free. Legal and financial, I mean, just the scenarios that we kind of were talking about earlier, right? If you have very specific questions, we will connect you with elder law attorneys and pay for that consultation. So you can go in and write down all your questions and then present them all your questions and get those answered. And you don't have to worry about paying for that. Respite care, who couldn't use a break? Right? We could all use a break. So if you want to come to this class, but you can't because you have to take care of whoever it is that you're caring for, we can arrange it so that you can get respite for that person. Or you want to go get your hair done. Or you want to go out with friends. Or you need surgery. I mean, whatever your needs are, you just have to talk to your care manager. And all is based, again, on your care plan. We do an assessment to make sure, to see how you are doing. Right? Support groups throughout San Diego County, English and Spanish. Education and training is what I do here with my colleagues, and we go throughout the community. So if you are interested in us coming out to your groups, to your place of employment, any other community group that you can think of where it could be helpful, we can do that. We would love to do that. The more people we talk to about our services, the better. It really breaks my heart when I hear people, oh, I wish I would have known. I was caring for my mom. I didn't even know that you existed. So we want to make sure we're there. Reach to caregivers. Oh, and employer resources. So if you're an employer or an employee, because we recognize that caregivers are getting younger and younger, right? You're in that sandwich generation where you're working full time and you have kids and you're caring for your elderly parents, and phew, how do you deal with all this, right? So we want to be able to come to the employees at their place of work during lunch and just talk about these topics. So if you know of organizations, of businesses that are interested, please let us know, because we want to make it easier for the working caregiver. And that's why now we have been doing our live stream classes. If you go online, we have videos that are like 1 minute so that you can watch them on your phone if you're waiting at a grocery store or something. You can watch them from your bed, and it takes a minute to get these tips. We also have podcasts online, and we bring in different caregivers talking about their situation. I mean, we're trying to make it very easy for caregivers. Reach to caregivers. So this brochure And I have here my colleague who I really encourage you to talk to. If any of you are caring for someone who's got memory loss, dementia, or Alzheimer's disease, she can give you a ton of information about this program that is very specific for someone who's caring for that individual. And it's 4 sessions, and it's really, really great about, it includes self-care, but it gives you that understanding of what that person's going through. So that if you know, sometimes we hear caregivers that say, oh, she just keeps asking me the same question over and over and over, I'm getting really frustrated. It's because it's probably some sort of memory loss, and let's talk about what that might be like. So I encourage you to talk to my colleague here at Rosario who can give you more info. Yes?
My daughter already completed that.
What did she say?
Oh my God.
She
was very like.
she liked it?
Yes, she received a lot of support.
Oh, good.
And I was noticing of her like she was more
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
in alcohol.
In El Cajon. So she was saying that her daughter took the Reach 2 Caregivers class, and this is for her friends online so they can hear the question, that her daughter loved it. She got a lot of information, useful information. She felt very supported, and the idea is to also increase that network of care, because by going to these classes, you're going to meet people that are just like you in that same situation, hearing from each other, helping each other out. Yeah. So again, this is a free class. And then Operation Family Caregivers for military and veteran families who are caring for someone either with like traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress disorder. So if you know anybody out there that's in that situation, let us know. Okay. So that's a wrap up of all of our services. You have the brochure. I just want to make sure that if you feel that you need to reach out to us, you can do so. You don't have to feel ashamed. It is a sign of stress. It's not a sign of weakness or stress to reach out for help, but a sign of strength. We want you to feel comfortable and do so. We're here for you. Okay? Yes, thank you. I want to also pass these out because if you see this brochure, this flyer, this is, we do classes here every month, and we live stream them every month as well. The next one is Understanding Alzheimer's Disease and Dementia. So it may apply to you, it may not, but you might also be interested in forwarding it to someone who is in that situation. So feel free. You can also check it out on our website. Starting July, we'll be doing a whole new calendar. So if you have some suggestions on specific topics, we have a whole list of topics, but we can also put that together, and anything that interests you, we can also use that as a guide.
So then are these recorded online?
These we are recording online, so you could actually go back and watch them online, yeah, if you're interested. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I think we are out.